Welcome, dear fiends of the den, where shadows speak louder than headlines, and every whisper begs to be cross examined. This is the lair of Rose Noir, unmonetized, unsponsored, and unapologetically unfiltered. I am your underground icon. Here, news and conspiracy theories tango in the dark, hatch strange offspring in my brain, and slither out through my mouth. No ads, no allegiance, just raw nature, forensic fury, and a hunger for justice that doesn't sleep. If you want to keep the lights dim and the truth loud, your donations keep the blood pumping. The PayPal link is in the bio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Welcome back, dear fiends of the den. I am Rose Noir, and I am here to give you an old podcast. This podcast has been through so many changes. It has been the Riche Collective, which was supposed to be a simply luxurious lifestyle on a budget, but that was boring. And then it became Strange Occurrences, Abnormal Tales with a Gen X twist. Because my podcast prior to this, that is now defunct, was called Messy Closet, the spiritual journey of Generation X. It got a little too close to home for me, so I created this podcast, which I eventually called Strange Occurrences, because I absolutely love to talk about haunted stories and Mandela effects, conspiracy theories, urban legends, folklore. I love it. Eventually, I found a podcast that was called Strange Occurrences also. So I decided to avoid any confusion, any legal issues. I came up with a new name. The Dark Entertainment Network was born. And boom, welcome to the Den. You'll also hear a different name. Before I was the Gothic Rose, and now Rose Noir, because again, I reinvent myself and the name goes with it. It all seems to feel right now. But I wanted to bring up a story that I thought was very important. I began telling this story in a 5-part series on September 20th, 2024. But I thought it was apropos now since everyone is getting ready to go back to school and college students in particular are moving back into their dorms. So, may I present from the former name of this podcast, The Lost Kids of Sarah Lawrence. A story near and dear to my heart because it began in Westchester County, where I grew up, in the town of Bronxville, right next to my home city of Mount Vernon. And then it moved on to New York City. It's an incredible story, and everything will be linked in the description. So tune in. I found this story first in an article in the Cut magazine, which is one of the sources I quote. I tell you who wrote it, and I do actually read quite a bit of the article for the source, which was so well done and well put together that it was really the only way to help explain. There's also a Netflix documentary, The Stolen Kids of Sarah Lawrence, and it explains how this group of students in their freshman year got together and, just formed a crew. And by their second year, things got so strange in the dorm that some of the original group walked away, but many stayed. It's an incredible story of survival. The 5-part series goes into great detail. But if you're wondering, back in 2010, a girl named Talia was a student at Sarah Lawrence College. and she and her friends were just entering their second year and moving into a house on campus called Sloanham 9. Now, this is in the town of Bronxville, New York. That same year, Talia's father, Larry Ray, was just released from prison. And Talia allowed Larry Ray to stay in this Sloanham 9 house with her friends. Some of the friends that lived in the house immediately moved out, but others stayed. And that's when Larry Ray began manipulating Talia's friends and roommates under the guise of therapy and mentorship. Now, I know some of you are going to ask, why didn't the school remove Larry Ray from the dorm? They were aware. Sarah Lawrence College was aware that Larry Ray was living on campus. But what they told these other parents was that he had the right to visit his daughter. I don't know how he had the right to live on campus without paying tuition, but that seems to be what happened. And he took on a very fatherly role with these kids, offering them very intense therapy sessions, one on one or in groups, often keeping them awake for hours and creating a cult. Larry Ray was so good at this manipulation that he eventually moved this core group of people, some who remained under his control from 2010 until 2013. He moved this group of kids from their dorm house, Sloanham 9, on the Sarah Lawrence campus in Bronxville, New York, to a one-bedroom apartment in New York City, where he had further control over them, keeping them awake, locking the refrigerator, controlling when they ate, when they slept, what they said, and what they did, and exposed them to very horrific harassment, abuse, humiliation, and all sorts of other manipulative tactics. He was so good at this that he managed to convince two siblings of one of the students he controlled to join this cult as well. So there was a boy, a young man, I should say, and he was part of this cult, and his two sisters, older sister and younger sister, both joined in this cult of Larry Ray. And it was just absolutely amazing. Not only did he move them to the city, but he moved them to the south at one point and then back to the city. And some did not manage to escape for many years. So I go through what happened to each of the victims, including his daughter, in this 5-part series. Everything I am going to link in the description. But if you are going back to school and someone's parent happens to move into your dorm room and you are uncomfortable with this, please say something and please leave that situation, because what happened to these students and the way they were ignored by the faculty of Sarah Lawrence, which is a very expensive school. I tell you how much the tuition is also in this series. And it's a very affluent town. And they're so, I want to say, on top of everything that goes on in the area, that they sent out an email warning that there was a fox on campus. So these kids go there to be very well taken care of. It's a liberal arts school. It's for the shy kids that, are the poets at heart and the sensitive kids. So at this age, it was very easy for Larry Ray to manipulate them, because you're just leaving your parents' home, you're gaining your first taste of independence. You want to know what life is all about, but at the same time, you are looking for guidance. And Larry Ray, a known manipulator and liar who had been to prison several times and is in prison again for what he did to these kids, along with some surprising other people. listen to the entire series, he knew exactly how to manipulate these kids. He knew exactly what to say to get them to follow him and follow his instructions. So check out my series, The Lost Kids of Sarah Lawrence. All the credit goes to the writers in the Cut magazine who brought such life to this story. And if you have a chance to check out the Netflix documentary, you absolutely have to. It is phenomenal. It's some of the victims in their own words. Spoiler: if you do check out the whole series, you will hear some incredibly well known names, especially in the last 10 years. Actually, one of them in the last 20 years. Okay. Total spoiler. It's Rudy Giuliani. He was very good friends with Larry Ray, and there's so much more to this entire story. So you've got to tune in to the series, which I will link below. The Cut article revealed Rudy Giuliani's big secret. There's a book about it, but it's hidden. It's called Homo Thug. You have to look up more about this and check out the series seriously. With that, I thank you for joining me in the den. Don't forget, because I bring you the truth, the den has been demonetized, and it's a signal from the shadows. So if you'd like to support the dark entertainment and Rose Noir's investigations, you can do so by tipping the detective. The paypal.me link is in the bio. Again, thank you so much for joining me in the den. If you've got something to say, send me an email at welcometothedenpodcast@gmail.com.